Hello, welcome back to another episode of Deck Theory. I know, because consistent uploads, this is crazy. Anyway, happy Halloween. It is the 31st right here when I'm recording this. So happy Halloween. And for Halloween, I thought we'd take a look at a a funny funny spooky archetype even. And personally, a very fun archetype in my opinion. Now, this what you're looking in front of you is CUBICS. Now you might be thinking, why are you talking about CUBICS? What have CUBICS got to do with anything? Now, I know people in the Yu-Gi-Oh community right now are dreading what is coming in the next few days, and that is the Ishizu cards that make up the deck Ishizu Tailorman that is dominating the OCG right now and is expected to do something very similar over here. And the people are definitely looking for other ways to counter it. They're looking for other kind of things to do, all that jazz. I I'm not looking forward to that format either. I'm not gonna lie to you. And like I just wanted to play a fun deck whilst I'm thinking about what deck I also want to play on like a really competitive level. Because like there's a regionals once the stuff comes out, blah blah blah. I'm not sure what deck I want to take. This is an option. I am thinking about playing Cubics in a Shizu tier format. Now, you might be thinking, okay, come on. Cubics are funny, but how are they going to do anything to a Shizu tier? And to that, I say this. One, you're playing a rogue deck, so people aren't going to know what your cards do half the time. They won't know what specifically to do to beat you. And that is the biggest advantage of playing a rogue deck, is that people don't know what your deck does 99% of the time. Two, and this is the first thing that got me to play this deck, that got me to think about playing this deck in a Shizu tier format. What is the main draw of the Ishizu cards? Right? What is the main draw? Okay, so one of them, mills 5. The other one, mills 10. Or mills 5 again, and then it mills another 5 if you have Gravekeeper Exchange the Spirit. Right? Another one, or the one of those mill 5s is a hand trap, I think. And the other two are like Transmigration Prophecies. Okay? Now, what does milling do in Cubics? What does milling do? See, I think if you know Cubics already, you'll know where I'm going with this. If you don't know Cubics, allow me to introduce you to the brilliant world of cubic spells and traps. The biggest one that we're looking at here is Cubic Karma. This card's effect reads, when this card is activated, you can target one cubic monster you control, except VJam the Cubic Seed, send any number of VJam the Cubic Seeds from your hand and or deck to the graveyard. Then that monster gains 800 attack for each, even if this card leaves the field. That's okay, it's a good attack booster, but not what we're looking at. During your opponent's turn, if VJam the Cubic Seed is special summoned by the effect of a cubic monster, send this card to the graveyard, and if you do, halve your opponent's life points. Very funny, I'm all for effects halving your opponent's life points, but again, we're just looking at the last line of text on this card. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add one cubic monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, so it's an effect that triggers in the graveyard. Sure, you can see why that'd be like beneficial when you're getting milled by Telements, right? True. However, there is a specific lack of a phrase here on this card, and that word is once per turn. This card is not once per turn. If your opponent mills two of your cubic karmas, you get two searches off this. That is insane. The biggest thing you're gonna grab, and the payoff for this deck, is Crimson Nova the Dark Cubic Lord. Now, if you're like even in the tiniest bit familiar with cubics, you should know what this guy does, right? He's a big 3k body, and he's summoned from your hand by revealing three other cubic cards in your hand with different names and cannot be special by other ways. Note that this effect does not activate, and if I'm correct, this summoning condition cannot be negated by Ruler Karas. So that's one way that Tyr can't beat the summon of this. Second, unaffected by other monsters' activated effects whose original attack is 3000 or less. So, 3000 or less, okay? Original. So what is that? That is Ride's Heart. That is um Dragstapelia. That is like every single monster that Tillerman make. Every single monster that Tillerman make can't out this. Tillerman have to use Perlino, the field spell, or they have Solic online, right? So they have two cards. only one of which is searchable. And if they search it, you know your opponent has it. And that's where we're playing cards like Lightning Storm to blow up back row. We're playing Super Poly to fuse away the opponent's Telement names. Yes, they might get a trigger off of that, but nothing of what they summon matters. If you Super Poly an opponent's tier, right, and you go, oh, yeah, blah blah blah. They go, oh, why did you do that? You're just gonna trigger my tier name. And you go, cool, yeah. I'm gonna like Super Poly your Shiren that's like left on the field because they want to have Select, or like an Elf or a Merly that's on the field. And then I'm also gonna like fuse away like something else for like Super Poly or for like Garura, right? This is gonna turn off Select. It's gonna turn off Select, and that's the important part. If builds are going for Elf, then maybe you might have to play more around the fact that Elf can revive Merly. But even then, if they do that, again, we're playing things like Triple Tactics Talent. If they activate the Elf, because it can only be activated in the main phase, we will just steal the Merly before they can activate Select. Or we will Lightning Storm the back row, and it doesn't matter. You see where I'm going with this? And and this is the great thing. This Nova here, he is like a he just counters Tearlament. He just beats Tear. Obviously, like yeah, not on his own, and he needs a bit of support. But isn't that worth it? When he attacks and destroys a monster by battle, he gets another attack. So he's a 3k Bungus that attacks twice, and in the end phase, both players take 3,000 burn. Do you realize how much potential damage that is? That is so much damage. So much. So your opponent, sure, like that you go bump, bump, and then burn for 3k. Like, that's so much damage. And if you have access to Cubic Wave, you will win the game. Cubic Wave targets a cubic monster you control and a face-up monster your opponent controls, doubles your attack and halves the opponent's attack. Your opponent has a Rulucaros? Cool. It's now on 1500. Your Nova is now on 6000. You hit them for like 4500. Your Nova gets another attack. You hit them again, and then they burn for the 3k in the end phase. Or if they've used instant fusion, they're dead on the first attack. Like you deal 4500, they've taken 1000 off of instant fusion. They've now taken 5500. That is dead to Crimson Nova burn. You see where this goes? This, I legitimately think could be a viable rogue answer to Tearlament. Sure, it's not gonna consistently beat Tearlament 99.999% of the time. It's not that good. But if you want a really fun rogue deck that can like top locals, I would honestly play CUBICS right now. But what if they mill? What if they mill all your Novas? What if they mill? What if they mill them? Cubic Dharma. You can banish this card from your grave, then target a Cubic in grave, add it to hand. There we go. Nova's back. Nova's back. And you know what else is brilliant? Your opponent, if they're milling you, they can mill Unification of the Cubic Lords. This Unification is one of the most broken cards in this deck. Now let me read it to you. You can banish this card from your grave if a face-up cubic monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field. You can banish it from your graveyard. Special a level 4 or lower cubic from your hand or deck, ignoring summoning conditions, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle card effects this turn. Okay, so you get a free body. What makes that amazing? Leaves the field. Leaves the field. So, if you have a V-Jam, and you link it off for Link Karibo, or even Anima, if your opponent doesn't play around the Anima zone, you can link it off for Anima. Anima steals their monster. Well, you link off for Anima, activate Unification. Unification summons Doozer from the deck. Your Anima steal their monster. Doozer, when it's summoned, sends one cubic card from your deck to your grave. Now that can be Karma, if you're missing one name to summon Nova. That could be Dharma to add a Nova back or something. That could be Unification again. Because Unification, just like Cubic Karma, is not once per turn either. Do you know what this means? You get to link climb like hell. Normal summon V-Jam, make relinquished Anima, steal a monster, Unification special Doozer, Doozer send Unification, Doozer and Anima into Pentastag, Pentastag give your piercing to Nova, oh and Unification summon another Doozer, Doozer Like, or instead of going to Pentastack, you go Anima and Doozer into Dark. Unification summons another Doozer. Dark steals a monster. You can then make a BLS, or you can make Trisbana, or you can make Unicorn to spin something back. Oh, and Unification summon another Doozer. And then you go and you've gone your Dark steal an opponent's monster. Then you make Access Code with the Unicorn. It's 5300. Access Code can start bumping off things. And this is before you've even committed to Nova. This is before Nova or anything. And if your opponent has milled the Ascension, right? If your opponent has milled the Ascension and has 2,000 or higher life points than you, you can just banish the Ascension from grave to special summon a V-Jam from your deck. So if your opponent, I'm not, to be fair, not 100% on how you're going to be 2,000 or less turn 1, but it's still nice. It's still nice if your opponent has somehow burned you, right? But that's the beautiful thing. Normal summon V-Jam, if they've milled any unifications, is the brilliant thing. Because then you start to build up your hand. If they've milled 2 unifications, that means your first 2 doozers can send cubic karmas. Or you know, and you can start building up your hand again to special your Nova from deck. Isn't this beautiful? Just your opponent milling 10 is going to plus you so much. It's going to plus you so much. Now, the rest of your deck, you're basically playing are board breakers, right? You're playing Lightning Storm, you're playing Triple Tactics Talent, you're playing Super Polymerization. You could play more, it depends. You could probably play Mystic Mind viably in this deck if you want to. I personally am not a big fan of it, but I definitely say it's something you can do. Super Polymerization, you will just activate in like the draw phase before you activate Extravagance. Therefore, your Super Poly targets and Extravagance, banishing them don't really matter because you're always probably going to be winning turn 3 or turn 2. So it shouldn't matter too much. And talents, you're nearly always going to be stealing to remove the opponent's monsters from their board instead of drawing 2 cards. If you do need to draw 2 cards and you haven't activated Extravagance, great, but you're probably going to just steal. The final nail in the coffin with this deck, and this is the card that you probably could cut, but I think it's hilarious, is Buster Gundil, the Cubic Behemoth. Got to be special summoned by sending 3 cubic monsters you control to the graveyard and cannot be summoned in other ways. If summoned this way, gains 3,000 attack and can make a second and third attack during each battle phase. That is a 3,000 attack monster that attacks 3 times. That's insane. If this card in your possession is sent to your graveyard by your opponent, so that includes kaijus, that includes super polymerization, that includes just destroying it by battle, destroying it by card effects, that includes anything, you can target up to 3 cubic monsters in your graveyard, special summon them, then you can add any cubic from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Now, I'm not sure if you've realized this. This A is not once per turn. Why is it relevant that it's not once per turn? Say you have 3 V-Jams on the board. Or maybe you're against a back row deck. Your game's grindier. This is why I like this card, because it's good against grindier decks. You have, a couple of doozers, you have maybe a V-Jam, and then you summon Gundil. Your opponent goes, oh, that's a scary monster. It's got 3,000 attack 3 times. That's going to kill me. Then they're going to flip, I don't know, they might flip Torrential Tribute. They might flip Conquistador. They might flip, anything like that. Your Gundil leaves the field. Gundil triggers, you're just going to summon back all 3 doozers in the graveyard. If you don't, that's fine. You can summon back V-Jams. It's whatever. If you summon doozers, all your doozers will trigger, and you can dump triple karma to get 3 searches. You can dump Dharma double karma. You can dump unifications. You can do whatever you want. You will be probably winning the game if you revive 3 Dharma right here. If you revive 3 V-Jam, that's fine. Because Gundil adds any cubic from deck or graveyard to hand. That means, by doing that as an effect, whilst it's in the graveyard, it gets to add itself back to your hand. And now you have 3 cubic monsters on the board, all set up to summon. Summon the Gundil again. It's back to 3k 3 attacks. If they remove it again, what's that? You just summon back 3, add the Gundil back, summon the Gundil again, and just go, go, go. This thing provides so much pressure and helps you grind through back row decks so much. Who cares if they have any type of removal for your monster? Like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. If they send this card to graveyard by anything, boop, you just slap it down again because you've just summoned all 3 again, and it's perfect. You can tell I really enjoyed this deck a lot. Another thing with this deck, if you're just going for the Nova line, obviously you're kind of playing around Super Poly because you're only going to have the one monster on your board. Again, your opponent probably Super Poly their board and your board, but it's nice to have that small thing. Um, if if you're going to be made to go first, which you may be through siding, you can side things like Tikaboo because you play around Tikaboo quite easily because these are machines, these are fiends, these are beasts, these are fiends as well, but you typically don't have these two on the board at the same time. Plus, you can link them off for your Spellcaster Anima or your Cyburst Link Karibo. This is a Cyburst Pentastag, so Anima plus VJam makes Pentastag. This is a Spellcaster Dark, so like Link Karibo plus VJam makes Dark. You know, you play around Tikaboo really easily. We're playing obviously back row removal for if it ever comes up. You probably won't lose to Mystic Mine too easily because you're playing the 3 Lightning Storm in the main, so that is spell trap removal. But also you're only really, if your opponent has Mystic Mine, I get like Striker for example, you're only really gonna like commit one monster to the board anyway. It doesn't really matter. But you obviously aren't going to be as advantageous against Mystic Mine. Plus, Mystic Mine is falling out of the meta right now due to everybody being hyper aware of it. So hopefully, people will not be bringing Mystic Mine against you. You can also play Triple Judgment for going first. You can play Causality for going first. Um, I'm playing Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon, and I'm mainly just using this as a way to go. Okay, my opponent set up their board, and I've gone first. Like they're going to attack me. Start the battle phase. You flip this, swap all their monsters to face down, and then you go, okay, cool, I've blanked your turn, my turn, I'm gonna just like kill you because I'm playing CUBICS. Gosh, I love this deck. And I really am gonna try this deck out. With Mavens coming out, you're gonna be able to get Triple Tactics Talents and Lightning Storm for cheaper than they were. So this makes, playing these cards a bit more viable. As you can tell, I enjoy this deck a lot. And I'm going to be trying out an Ishizu tier format. So please, I encourage you, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Just take it to your locals. Try it out. The entire deck comes in secret rare. It looks so pretty. To give it a shot. And again, leave a comment. Subscribe if you haven't. If this has inspired you to maybe look into playing rogue decks in this format. If this is just done anything, please just let me know. I love this deck so much, and I hope you can love it too. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.